Hello and welcome to the next edition of the HP Discover podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing discussion on IT innovation and how it's making an impact on people's lives. Once again, we're focusing on how companies are adapting to the new style of IT to improve IT performance, gain new insights, and deliver better user experiences, as well as better overall business results. This time, we're coming to you directly from the HP Discover 2014 conference in Barcelona. We're here the week of December 1st to learn directly from IT and business leaders alike how big data changes everything for IT, for businesses, for governments, as well as for you and me. Our next innovation case study interview highlights how globe testing, based in Madrid, is helping startups to make the leap to cloud-first and mobile-first software development. We'll hear how globe testing is pushing the envelope on agile development and applications development management using HP tools and platforms. To learn more about modern software testing as a service, we're joined by Jose Aracil, the CEO of Globe Testing, and he's based in the company's Berlin office. Welcome to BriefingsDirect, Jose.
Hi, how are you, Dana? Thank you.
I'm great. So first, tell us a little bit about Globe Testing. Are you strictly a testing organization? Do you do anything else? And how long have you been in existence?
Yes, we are a testing organization. Our services are around the ADM portfolio of HP software. So we work with tools such as HP Load Runner, HP Quality Center, diagnostics, and so on. And we've been around for 4 years right now, although most of our employees actually come from either HP software or back in the days from Mercury Interactive. So you could say that we are the real experts in this arena.
All right, so Jose, what are the big issues facing software developers today? Obviously, speed has always been an issue. Working quality into the process from start to finish has always been important. But is there anything particularly new or pressing about today's market when it comes to software development?
Well, I would say scalability is a big issue because these days you can, or most of the cloud providers would say that they can easily scale your instances. But for you as a startup, there are some hidden costs there, which is if you're not coding properly, if your code is not properly optimized, the app might be able to scale, but that's going to have a huge impact on your annual books. Therefore, the return on investment when you're looking at HP software is very clear. You work with the tool set, you have proper services such as globe testing, you optimize your applications, and then that's going to make them cheaper to run in the long term. I would also say things such as response time, right? So customers are very impatient. So websites, whenever they take more than 3 seconds, that was the old rule, but these days 1 second. If it's not instant, then you just go and look for a different website. So response time, I would say, is also something that is very worrying for our customers.
So it sounds like cloud first. We're talking about high scale and availability and performance, but not really being able to anticipate what that high scale might be at any given time, and therefore creating a test environment where you can make the assumption that that cloud performance is going to be required and test against it becomes all more important.
Yeah, definitely. So you need to look at performance from 2 ways. The first one is before the app goes on production in your staging environment. So you need to be able to optimize the code there and make sure that your code is working properly and that the performance is up to your standard. And then you need to do a number of simulations to see how the application is going to scale. You might not reach the final numbers, and obviously it is very expensive to have those staging environments, so you might not want to test with large numbers of users, but at least you need to know how the app behaves whenever you increase the load by 20%, by 50%, and so on. Now, the second aspect that you need to be looking at is when the app is on production, right? You cannot just go on production and forget about the app. You need to carry on monitoring that app and make sure that you anticipate problems and that you know about those problems before your end users call you to tell you, hey, your app is not up and running. And for both situations, HP software has different tools. So you can count on HP Performance Center and HP Diagnostics when you're on pre-production on your staging environment. And once you go live, you have different tools such as the innovative A-Pools, for example, which can monitor your application constantly. It's available in SaaS, so it's very well suited for this kind of new startups that are coming out every day with very interesting pricing models.
And of course, you're based in Berlin, and that is a hotbed of startup activity in Europe. Tell us what else is important to startups. I have to imagine that mobile and being ready to produce a application that can run in a variety of mobile environments is important too.
Yeah, definitely mobile is very hot right now in Berlin. So most of the startups we talk to are facing the same issues, which are compatibility. They all want to support every single platform available. And we are not only talking about multiple mobile devices, but we're also talking about the smart televisions. And we are talking about a wide array of systems that now should support the different applications that they are developing. So being able to test on multiple operating systems and platforms and be able to automate as much as possible is very important for them. And therefore they need tools that are very flexible, that can handle any single given protocol. So yeah, again, HP software, things such as UFT can help them. And things such as Mobile Center, for example, that was just released from HP software, is also very interesting for this kind of companies, startups or large enterprise as well, because we're seeing the same need there. Banking, for example, an industry which is usually very stable, very slow pace, is also adopting mobile very quickly. Everyone wants to check their bank accounts online using their iPad, using their iPhone, or using their Android tablets and phones, and needs to work on all of those. So.
Now, going to those enterprise customers, they're concerned about mobile, of course, but they're also now more and more concerned about DevOps and being able to tighten the relationship between our operating environment and their test and development organizations. How do some of these tools and approaches, particularly using testing as a service, come to bear on helping organizations become better at DevOps?
Yeah, so DevOps is a very hot word these days. I think HP has come a long way. They are producing loads of innovation, especially with the latest releases. And they not only need to take care of the testers like in the old days, basically some manual testing, some automation and test management, but now you need to make sure that whatever assets that you are developing on pre-prod and staging can then be reused when you go on production. So just to give you an example, with HP Load Runner, the same scripts can be run then in production to make sure that the system is still up and running. So that also tightens the relations in between your dev team and your operations team. You know, they work together much more than they used to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, looking increasingly at performance and testing and development in general as a service, how are these organizations, both the startups and the enterprises, adapting to that? Now, a lot of times cloud was attractive early to developers. They could fire up environments, virtualize environments, use them, shut them down, be flexible. But what about the testing for your organization? Do you rely on the cloud entirely, and how do you see that progressing?
So, to give you an example, customers want their applications tested in the same way as real users would access them, which means they are accessing them from the internet. So it's not valid to go and test their applications from inside the data center. You need to use the cloud, you need to access them from multiple locations. So the whole testing paradigm is not valid anymore. So for us as cloud testing and testing as a service as such is very important. So what we are doing right now is providing customers with teams that are geographically distributed, and that can do things such as test automation locally that can then be sent to the customer so they are tested locally, and things such as performance testing, which is run directly from the cloud in the same way as real users would do. And you can choose multiple locations with even simulating the kind of connections that these users are using. So you can simulate like a 3G connection or Wi-Fi connection and the like.
I suppose other trends we're seeing are rapid iterations and microservices, the use of APIs increasingly inside of apps. So all of these, I think, are conducive to a cloud testing environment so that you could be rapid and bring in services. So how is that working? How do you see your customers, and maybe you can provide some examples to illustrate this, working towards cloud first, mobile first, and these more rapid iterations, even microservices?
So in the old days, most of the testing was done from an end-to-end perspective, right? So you would run a test case that was heavily focused on the front end, and that would run end-to-end case. Now, these days, for this kind of customers that you're mentioning, what we are doing is focusing on these services, right? So we need to be able to even develop some of the scripts before the end services are up and running, in which case things such as service virtualization, for example, are very useful from HP software as well. Yeah, to give you some examples, one of our customers, Ticketmaster, they are, I don't know if you know them, a large online retail. They sell tickets for concerts. And what's happening is that whenever there's a big gig happening in town, whenever one of these large bands are showing up, tickets run out extremely quickly. So their platform goes from an average of hundreds of users a day to all of a sudden thousands of users in a very short period of time. So they need to be able to scale very quickly to cope for that load. And for that, we need to test from the cloud, and we need to test constantly on each one of those little microservices to make sure that everything is going to scale properly. Yeah, and for that, HP Load Runner obviously is the tool that we chose.
Do you have any examples of companies that are doing ADM, application development management, that is to say more of an inclusive, complete application lifecycle approach, that they're thinking this holistically, making it a core competency for them? And how does that help them? Is there an economic benefit in addition to some of these technical benefits when you adopt a full lifecycle approach to development, test, and deploy?
Yeah, yes. Well, to give you an example of economic benefit, for example, we did a project for a very large startup where all their systems were cloud-based. And we basically use HP Load Runner and HP Diagnostics to have a look at the code and try to optimize it in conjunction with their development team. So by optimizing that code, they reduce the amount of cloud instances required in 1/3, which means a 33% savings on their monthly bill. So that's straight savings. So yeah, it's very important. Again, for example, large telecommunication in Switzerland. Sometimes we focus not only on the benefits for the IT, but also the people that are actually using those services. So for example, those guys that go to the retail shops to get a new iPhone or to activate a new contract. If the systems are not fast enough, sometimes you will see queues of people, which is turning into lower sales. If you optimize those systems, that means that the agents are going to be able to process contracts much quicker. In this specific example that I'm giving you, we reduce to 1/5 of the time by using Performance Center. So 1/5 of the time, that means that the following Christmas, queues literally disappear from all those retail shops. So again, that turns into higher sales for the customer.
Well, great. We're here, Jose, at HP Discover in Barcelona. What about the future? What is of interest to you here as a HP partner? You mentioned the mobile test products and services. Anything else particularly of interest? Is there anything in the big data side that you can bring to bear on development or help developers make better use of analytics?
Well, there are a number of innovations that are coming out this year at Discover, which are extremely interesting to us. Things such as A-Pulse Mobile, Storm Runner. Both are new tools that are coming out right now and that are very innovative. When it comes to big data, I'm very excited to see the next releases from the ALM suite from HP, because I think they will make a very big use of big data, and obviously they will try to get all the information, all the data that testers are entering into the application, from requirements, defects, tests, and the traceability will be much better handled by this kind of big data system. So I think we'll need to wait a few more months, but there are some new innovations coming out in that area as well.
Right, nothing really stays the same for very long in test and development, does it?
Definitely not.
Okay, well, thanks very much. We've been hearing about how Globe Testing is helping startups to make the leap to cloud-first and mobile-first software development. And we've heard also how Globe Testing has helped to push the envelope on Agile and application management, or development management, rather, for those organizations that it works for. So I'd like to thank our guest. We've been joined by Jose Aracil, the CEO of Globe Testing, and he's based in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
And thank you, too, to our audience for joining this special new style of IT discussion, coming to you directly from the HP Discover 2014 conference in Barcelona. We've explored solid evidence from early enterprise adopters and startups on how big data and development efficiencies help change everything for IT, for businesses, for governments, as well as for you and me. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of HP-sponsored discussions. Thanks again for listening, and come back next time.